What is going on? Bitwise guy here, and I know that I am not really on the JavaScript bandwagon as of yet, but I've kind of been requested to make this tutorial, so I thought, why not? The guy who requested me to make this tutorial seems like a really nice guy, but he seems to be struggling quite a bit with understanding JavaScript. And since I am in the trenches with JavaScript all day, every single day, I thought I would lend a helping hand. I'm not going to cover every one of his requests in one single video because it would just kind of be too much. As for those of you who watch my video, and you know I like to go into a lot of depth about a very small particular topic. In this topic, we're going to be covering something as simple as functions, but we're going to be going over like functions specifically in JavaScript. So without further ado, let's get started. So what I've done here is I've gone ahead and I've basically scaffolded a new project, and it's really basic, crappy HTML markup, and I've got just an empty JavaScript file here, and you can see if I drag over the window here, if we just put in function, if we just make a little anonymous function here and make that run, and if we just put in a I don't know, if we just put in an alert and we say our page is working. Alright, so if we save that and we hit F5, you can see we get a little dialog box and a little alert box says our page is working. So we know that basically this include is working and that our script is getting executed. Alright, so let's get started. So first and foremost is I'm not going to exactly explain what this is to begin with. This is probably its own little tutorial in and of itself. But just for this tutorial, what I want you to do, and I won't mention the guy by name, is I want you to just start your script off like that. Mostly because it's just good practice too. There are many reasons why you should do it like this. There are different kinds of notation, but this seems to be the most common notation, especially as you move in towards ES6. Okay, so the first thing you should know about functions in JavaScript is they're basically kind of like every single other language as functions, except they're completely different. In JavaScript, functions are something called FirstClass Citizens, and that's kind of a buzzword term, but they're basically, the reason they're called FirstClass Citizens is they're actually treated as objects. So a function is an object, and there's a level of provability that a function is an object, and we'll go into that, and we'll do that now. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically create a simple little function. We're going to say var my function is equal to function. Whoops, I don't know why I keep hitting P, but so we're going to say var my function is equal to function, and all we're going to do is we're going to basically say I don't know, let's just make it do an alert again. We'll say alert, and then we'll say hello world. Alright, so we save this and we run our page. You'll notice that we don't get any alert. Now, the reason we don't get any of this, the reason we don't get an alert is because I haven't basically told it to run in place. What I've instead done is I've assigned this object, which is a special kind of object. It's a function object. Remember, it's a first-class citizen. So it means that it gets the same sort of treatment as any other object would in JavaScript. I've assigned it to this variable here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create another function down here, and I'm going to say function, and it's going to take two parameters. So it's going to take, the first parameter is going to be, I don't know, let's just say message, and we'll say, and then the second parameter is going to be callback. So for those of you who don't know what a callback is basically a function that you pass in as a parameter or as a variable that you will then call inside of the function that it's passed into. So we're going to call this one another function. Okay, so we've got two functions here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to basically say we're going to say alert, and we're going to say message. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're actually going to call the callback. So we're going to say callback just like this. Now, I should preface this by saying that there is a lot of type safety that you should do around this object. for example, you should be checking if it is a type of function. You know, you should be checking if it's nullable or if it's undefined or all those kinds of things. But just for this really simple basic tutorial, I'm not going to bother with any of those things. So again, we'll save and nothing should come up as it doesn't. Alright, so what we're going to do is now we are going to call the second function. So I'm going to say another function, and we're going to first pass in a parameter of a string. So let's just say, I don't know, kazoo, and we're going to pass in a callback. Now, we pass in my function, which is declared up here, just like that, and then we simply end the line. So as you can see, I basically passed in this function as an object. Now, inside of this function here, you can see that I've gone ahead and I've executed the function. So, I basically said, well, this is an object, I'm passing it as an object, but really we know it's a function. Excuse me, so I'm going to execute it as a function. So now when I save this script and I press F5, as you can see, we get a message that says kazoo, which was our first one, and then we press OK and we get hello world. So, I mean, this is going to kind of seem trivial for all of you guys who are really, really expert JavaScript developers or even kind of intermediate JavaScript developers. But for the guy who requested this tutorial, it's probably not so obvious as to why we have these kind of first-class objects, which are functions. The simplest reason is that we can basically pass around all of these functions into different places, and we can use them as callbacks. Or we can return a function, right? So, for example, let's just say, I don't know. This might seem a little convoluted, but let's just say, for example, that we actually, instead of returning the object, we want to return the function. Sorry, instead of returning I don't know, this. So let's just actually make this return a string. So we'll say goodbye world. And this might seem like a little, it might be a little depressing, but nonetheless, we will return the callback. So we will return this, and what we're going to do is we're going to say var x is equal to another function. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to show you that it's an object. So we're going to say alert x. Now, if you would expect that that x will basically give you goodbye hello world, you would be wrong. But let's just see what happens. So let's press F5, and as you can see, the first message that we get is kazoo, and we click OK, and it says function return goodbye hello world. So we've actually not gotten a like the return of it. We've actually gotten the function itself. So there are a few things going on here, but the main one is, as I've stressed 3 times already, this is treated as an object. So, can we get it to basically say that again? Well, all we have to do is we have to say alert x. Now, if we go ahead and we press F5, we say kazoo, and then of course we get our return function of hello world. Different debuggers will show, different browsers and different engines will show the object differently. Chrome sometimes, depending on like the length of the function or something, it will show you the actual function and the body. Sometimes it will simply show you object. It really depends on what it is and how it's stored in the container and stuff. But that is pretty much it. That is, as he called it, higher order functions in JavaScript. I will make another video which will be on arrow notation as well as recursive functions. So without further ado, thank you very much for the request, and I hope this tutorial helped you, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.